Hi everyone, this is Radull Live. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're going to talk about a sport that is not so mainstream but gaining a lot of traction in Kenya, Esports. And we have a team going for Commonwealth Games. Did you know that? Allow me to introduce the CEO of IndexG Esports, Ronny Lusigi. And of course, Elias Onchari, a player who's actually going for the Commonwealth Games. Let me start with you, Ronny. What does IndexG Esports do?
Thank you very much, Carol, and we are very happy to be here. So, in a nutshell, IndexG Esports is an esports agency, and we focus on three main things. That's tournament organizing. Secondly, is using esports for social good, like other sports in the community. And finally, we are also esports consultants, looking at brands looking to engage with this esports audience, and also connecting the esports industry stakeholders with the corporate world. So,
are you yourself a player? I gather you are. Not a player, a player.
Yes, I used to play, but as I'm getting older, I'm playing less of it. But casually, I still do play. But when I was finishing high school, and I was in high school, it wasn't that big, but we used to play in the hood where I grew up in. We used to have those small tournaments, maybe everyone coming with 50 bob, and the winner going with the huge chunk of it. So that's where we now developed our interest in doing huge tournaments that we're trying to do right now.
I'll come back to you, Ronny, to talk a bit more about the management and structure of eSport. Let me get Elias. Elias, first of all, I saw that you've been playing. You're only 23, but you've been playing since 2007, which means since you were a child. Tell me how you got into eSports and how you decided it's actually not just a game, it's something I can make a career of.
Okay, so thank you first of all for having us on the show. So since I was a kid, I had interest in esports. I would borrow my mother's phone, play a few games here and there. Then I think after a while, there was this DVD player that came with games called the 300 games. So that's one of my first experiences with a console on my hand. So that's where the interest started to grow up, to pick up. So as we were growing up, we would come in contact with my friends who were also good players. So we would compete amongst each other. After high school is when I started taking up it really seriously, enrolling for tournaments, trying to gauge myself and my skill level. And I started winning a few, so that's where the also confidence in participating in such big tournaments came in.
What are some of the games you play? Because there's so many, when it comes to esports, there's so many different, most people think of FIFA only, but there's so many other different games that are recognized as part of the sport.
So I mainly play FIFA and the football, but like you said, there are so many other games. There's Mortal Kombat, for instance. There's Taken, where we have Queen Arrow doing really well on the international stage. Mortal Kombat, we have Brand the Beast. He's also doing really well as an esports athlete. There are also other games like Dota 2, Rocket League, which will also be in the Commonwealth Esports Championships. There's even PUBG, which you can also play using your phone. The range is very big. It's very hard to cover all the games in such a short period of time.
I think I've only heard of Tekken because I've interviewed Queen Arrow here on this show like a year and a half ago and followed her career. But which ones do you focus on?
I focus mainly on FIFA and eFootball. Yeah, so those are FIFA is the most popular game in Kenya, and the football is not quite there, but with the new gameplay and stuff, people are taking it on, and it's actually one of the first football game we have at the Commonwealth Esports Championship.
And you're going for Commonwealth Games, but let me ask you first, what was your parents' reaction when you decided school kando kidogo, mainstream jobs kando kidogo?
So my parents were, at first, they were skeptical. They were not in tune with the esports world.
Unacheza.
You're wasting time at sijui hii kitu haiwezi kupeleka mahali, unashindanga kwa TV, unashinda kwa screen. It's like whenever we had like a conflict, they would always bring it up as a source of attacking tool to you.
As in you're not doing anything serious with your life.
Unashindanga tu ukicheza, ndio maana hata ufanye vitu zingine. As in that's how they will use it. But at the moment they're taking it up really well. I have very supportive parents.
You're going for Commonwealth Games. How did that come about?
So there was a tournament that was organized by Liquid and other sponsors. So there were posters all around to ask gamers, to those who wanted to participate. So I enrolled in that and went about having few training sessions because it is hard to juggle work with esports as well. So I would leave work at around 8, go train up until 10 in the night, go home, and then go to the tournament, which was on a Saturday. Yeah, so
what work do you do?
I'm a supervisor at Nike Westgate.
Ah, okay. And I guess that's so common with a lot of our sports people. They still have to have a job and play sport as well, which other sports people around the world, sport is what they do. Let me bring Ronny back in. Ronny, what is the management structure of esport in Kenya in terms of federation, in terms of government recognition? Because you, as an agency, you can't speak to Commonwealth Games and say I'm bringing people. So what's the structure like?
In 2018 is when first the federation was formed, the Esports Federation. But as they were picking up, COVID came up, and putting up a federation it takes a lot of work. So, but they are members of the Global Esports Federation, which is sort of like the FIFA of esports. So in our country, they are the ones who govern the sport. But basically, we also have a lot of tournament organizers like ourselves who ensure that the sport keeps on running. Just the same way in football, you have people organizing tournaments in the hood here and there. So we still don't have like a national structure, but we have, so it is still mainly privatized. But that has been the nature of esports, even in other countries, that it has moved privately first quickly, and then now it's when it's gaining now recognition, now coming to the formal structure. Because even the biggest tournaments we have in the world, they're not from a federation sense per se. They are local and private or international tournament organizers who've been doing it for a long time. But right now, sports federations are beginning to recognize this is a space they should get into. FIFA, for one, have an e-football department. And even last week, they just ended their Esports World Cup. It was in Copenhagen, Denmark. So that's what it's looking like right now, because people are now realizing this generation of people coming up are taking enough of their time, not just playing, but also watching.
It's serious business.
Yeah, so it's important for people to know that it's now even a spectator event. Because just like if you play soccer, you love seeing people play soccer. It's the same way if you play games, you can recognize it. You can see, if you see Carol playing and you normally play that game, you can recognize it. But again, not every game can become an e-sport. So there are very many games, but there are few that are structured in the way that you can make it a competition. See, something like Candy Crush is a game, but it's very hard to make Candy Crush a competition. There are few people. See, there are few people who've tried it, but it's you see,
it's hard to watch.
Yes,
it's not a
Yes, and it's also hard to structure as a sport. But you see, a game like he plays of FIFA is simulation football. Mainly simulation sports are the entry point for people who don't understand esports. So from there, they can now start understanding fight games. We have simulation racing. We have simulation basketball. Those are the entry points for people. But now the big games in the world, that are like League of Legends and CSGO, they are strategy games. Like fight games, you're involving guns, you're in a jungle, and what have you. Some of them are a blend, like you said, Rocket League. They'll be going with a team also of Rocket League. Rocket League, you are basically playing football using cars. And it's a 3 versus 3. It's a 3 versus 3. But locally, we are trying to take the conversation now to mainstream, because a lot of it has been behind the scenes. And for us to go to that step, we need to take it mainstream. For instance, the ministry was very helpful in helping these guys get their visa, their paperwork.
Also, the
things like
ministry
that.
has recognized
Yes,
this and that esport is going for
for
Commonwealth,
for the
to
Commonwealth
represent
sports.
Kenya.
Yes, so they really assisted these guys, making calls to the UK High Commission, ensuring they are facilitated, but also for us to hold these tournaments. I think you've seen sometimes police officers arrest high schoolers because they are playing.
Yeah.
So that's what we are trying to do, basically also as IndexG, to have this conversation now in public spaces and to have the community, our parents, our institutions to be like enablers to what
To
people do.
formalize the sport.
Yes, to formalize it. So even with the institutions, ZTEC have been very supportive. We hosted the qualifiers there at ZTEC University. We've done like 3 tournaments at ZTEC University. So those are the spaces we are looking to get into. The mainstream media, educational institutions, when they recognize esports now, they're able now to understand it in depth, and now we can formalize it.
This, the Commonwealth, is this the first time it's being recognized in a formal international tournament?
Yes, sure, because Commonwealth have been struggling with that. Some people are saying it shouldn't even be there. We have the Olympics, so Commonwealth have been looking at how do they stay relevant to this generation. So that's why they said we are going to add esports as part of this competition. So the Global Esports Federation and the Commonwealth Games Federation came into a partnership to start with this edition as a trial. So as the competition will be going on, they'll be competing on August 6th and August 7th to see, it's somehow an exhibition event at the end of the competitions. But it's a trial to see if now in the next Commonwealth Games it will be proper. The Olympic Games also had a small exhibition trial before the Tokyo Games, but it was purely online. People didn't gather like in a place. They did sim racing and sim cycling as a trial event. But the discussion is really in high gear to have it in Paris 2024. But for a federation like FIFA, they've been having a World Cup for like 6 years right now for esports. I think even this year Kenya was enrolled to take in the qualifiers, but you know, because of the FKF they couldn't take part because it's part just like Starlets couldn't play. Yeah. Oof. They needed to represent
Sorry.
They needed to present 2 players to go to the E-Nations to represent a nation. But these other privately ones they can go to in eFootball. It's not like it's governed by FKF. It's just as because that specific tournament is an initiative of FIFA. So they'll only do it with FKF.
The federation.
Like Commonwealth is an initiative of the Commonwealth Games. So they do it directly because they're working with the Global Esports Federation.
The federation. Yeah.
They now work with the Esports Federation. But it's being used right now to, like, a child will be introduced to a sport because of them playing it. So that's why federations like FIFA are coming in. Because if I'm 3 years old and I start playing FIFA, when I go to school, I'm more likely to play football. And if I'm 3 years old, I start playing NBA 2K.
I capture you with what already has your interest.
Exactly. If I start playing NBA 2K, I'm more likely when I go to school to be interested in basketball. Even if I won't play and become a top player, I'll be a spectator of the sport, which is still business for the sport.
Ronny, let me come to Ronny, to Elias, because we only have him for the first half, and then the second half we'll have Shantel, who's also going for the Commonwealth Games. Ronny, what competitions have you participated in? Have you been in any international competitions, and how would you rate your skills with other players around the world?
I've participated in a fair few competitions. There was the E-League One tour that was held earlier this year, organized by IndexG as well. I came runners-up in that one.
That was here in Kenya?
Yeah, it was here
He missed the trip to France by 6 minutes.
6 minutes?
Yeah, because he lost in the final.
I lost in the final.
We were doing it together with League One. So
is that the one Queen Arrow went for? Because she went for one in France, then she also went to Guadeloupe.
No, that was in Taken.
That was different.
Yeah.
So which other competitions have you... and was that an international competition or that was just Kenya?
It's an international competition. League One used it to popularize their league. People play the football game, but you only use League One teams.
Yeah.
So he lost.
So you get to know their teams, their players.
Yes.
Exactly, and then that hopefully transfers to you watching League One.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the aim.
So which other competitions?
I've I've also played the Commonwealth, like we are talking about now.
That was our version of qualifiers.
Yeah. So there was also other tournaments at MKU, University. Esports Gaming also has a fair few tournaments. There's also virtual gamings. Those are all local. I've participated in some, won a few, lost also a few. So it's been a trial and error phase. But hopefully now we can kick on from here, so that we take it really seriously, really competitively, so that we become like ambassadors of the game, knowing that we'll be the first people, the pioneers. So it's like we'll be setting tone for the other people that are to come also.
That's a big thing. Your parents must be proud now, Commonwealth. Not every athlete gets to go for such huge tournaments, yeah?
Yeah.
What are your hopes and your dreams within the esports space?
My dream is to represent an English club, to become a member of the esports team. Like Manchester United has an esports team, so I'd really love.
Oh, they do. I don't even know that.
They do have, like, almost every team has an esports team, and also have a esports league. So it will be a dream come true if I could be able to represent them in any of the games, either in football or FIFA.
It had to be Manchester United.
Of course, I'm a fan of Manchester United.
But then Norwich are the champions Norwich are the champions of the E-Premier League, the esports.
Oh, they're the champions of
Norwich.
esports.
Yeah, it's Norwich.
Norwich one.
Can they put their esports team into the main league? They might do better.
Yeah.
Also, they have established leagues for I didn't know that.
They do have, almost every league now has taken it up. Even France has an esports league. Syria also, Spain also, La Liga has their esports league as well.
So maybe Ronny, you should be thinking, how can we get an esports league in Kenya? I know we have to sort out our football in so many ways, but it would be, no matter how small, even if it's like just four teams, you start with a few teams, so that they play regularly. Because I think that's what the rest of the world has ahead of us. For us, it's still a side hustle. For them, it's like a main hustle.
That's true.
And they play and compete regularly.
Sure. That's what we are trying to do. And you say we want to also work as consultants. We want to, if you find someone like Elias, you don't just get him to play and go home. You get him to understand that, Elias, you can now brand yourself, so that it's easier for me. If I'm organizing a competition, people who come to that competition, they should be esports teams, esports stars. They can draw eyeballs, because no matter how good the competition is, if the people we are bringing to play don't have a community around them, it's hard to make it. It's hard, like, to package a competition. So that's why right now we have short-term tournaments. But of course, we are trying to work towards that. That's why we are trying to help also esports gamers to be able to package themselves. We have a few esports teams, but they need to be helped. How do you register to become even an official esports team? Because they may want to send you money. Carol may be a corporate, but why should she give you money?
Who am I giving?
Who are you giving? And what's your value?
What's the structure of the club or whatever it is?
And what's their community? At least they should come and say, for example, Shantel plays for Horizon Esports. They should come and say, we are Horizon, we've been a team since 2020, we have this number of community of fans in our social media handles. When we stream our matches, we get this number of audience.
Absolutely.
So we think you coming in will help us. Like, we were surprised, the tournament he's telling you we did in April for the qualifications for E-League One. I'm looking at it now on YouTube. It has over 30,000 viewers. So it's that we're trying to do more and more of that, so that we can be able now to make a case for a league and have partners
and make a
come
case
on
for
board.
funding. Yes, make a case for funding.
Yeah.
We're going to go into a break, but I'm going to let you go, Elias, and then Shantel Wanjiru is going to join us. She's also going for the Commonwealth Games. Yeah. But I wish you the best. How do you think you will perform? Do you know who you'll be competing against in Birmingham?
No, I just know we'll be 19 countries, 19 territories, but I'm yet to know the specific opponent. It will be hard. But I'm putting in the practice, putting in the work, and I'm sure it will translate into success.
Well, I wish you the best. It's a start for us, for esports, and then you go learn as much as you can. That's what I always tell people who are going for the first time to these international events. Learn and gain as much experience as you can, and then bring it home and then see how we can develop it further. But thank you, Elias, for being here. Ronny, you'll still be with us after the break, and then of course we'll be joined by Shantel, who's also going for Commonwealth Games. But all the best, Elias. Guys, we are going to take a short break. We'll see you after the break, where we continue to talk about esports. I hope you're learning as much as I am.
Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Radull Live. Thanks for staying with us. We are talking about esports today. We have had to let Elias Onchari go. He will be going for the Commonwealth Games to represent Kenya at esports. And we have somebody else who's also going to represent Kenya at the Commonwealth Games, Shantel Wanjiru. Hi, Shantel.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Now, you were listening to our conversation in the first half. Elias was here telling us how he got into esports. I want to hear from you. Oh, by the way, sorry, and we are still with Ronny. That's a tongue twister. Ronny Lusigi,
Yes.
from CEO IndexG Esports. But Shantel, how did you get into esports?
I got into esports when I joined university, the Technical University of Kenya, where I found that place was my home. As in esports, nilikuja kujua like wase kadhaa huko. I was so interested in football when I was in high school, but I didn't get a chance to play it because I thought it was for men. I used to play the regular football. So when I joined the Technical University of Kenya, somebody changed my mind, the guy by the name Bismarck. So he started training me, and that's how I grew my esports talent. And
So you, instead of going to the pitch, you went
yeah,
online, so to speak. Yeah. So which are the games you play?
I play eFootball, and I play also FIFA, but I'm also learning more of Mortal Kombat.
Hey, hard stuff. I'm looking at your bio here, and I'm seeing you're an analytical chemistry student.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to be when you grow up with analytical chemistry? My goodness. I think I failed chemistry, but let's not go there.
Okay, so I decided to do analytical chemistry because of I loved chemistry so very much. So at first, because I didn't know more about esports, that I'm going to take it as a career, that's where I was headed to. I wanted it to be my career, my dream, my job, yeah.
And you're only 19 years old, but I'm seeing some of your hobbies here: dancer, saxophonist, violinist, footballer. My dear, what don't you do?
I'm a jack of all trades. So about violin and saxophone, I'm more into music, girl. So when I was in high school back then, I also did music. So when I came out here, I decided to buy my own violin and try it myself. Some students from the Technical University of Kenya who do violin as a career, they decided to help me, to assist me, to train me. Yeah, so right now I'm better at violin and saxophone. In church we play saxophone, so I decided to train there.
Jack of all trades. Ronny, you're lucky to have this young lady. She could be anything she wants to in this world. Yeah, but what does it mean to have a wholesome human being focusing on esports? Because what I find about sports is you need all sorts of life skills
Sure.
to be good at sport?
Sure. She's a great ambassador of esport because she helps the society to see that gamers are not just people in the basement playing video games from morning to evening. There are people who enjoy life like every other person. There are people who play soccer. There are people who sing as she does sing. So it's really good to have people like her so that, as you are saying, the conversation, if you want to push it mainstream, when older people learn that apart from playing video games, she's also good in sports. She's also good in music.
She's not just an idler.
She's not just an idler. So
Yeah.
you see, it's very important for that, and she's also studying, very importantly. So it's important so that people understand this is just an activity, but also it's an activity that is proven to improve people's digital skills. People who started playing video games earlier, they're the people who, when these mobile phones came, these smartphones, they were the first adapters. Right now, most of them you'll see online. They're the people who are doing a lot of streaming. They're the people who have moved. In fact, COVID has amplified what they were doing because there are people who belong to this digital
Everyone
world.
was catching up with the digital world during COVID, and you were already
Sure.
there.
And they were already there. And also the skills she's using to play, reaction time, things like those, they help someone in other things in life, even in studies. It's only in finding that balance. So when you have people like Shantel, she can be a good mentor to young people who are coming up as gamers, so that they just don't focus also on gaming. They're able to be told you can become a good gamer, but you can balance it all with other things in life.
Because unfortunately, until we make our sport actually pay, and I know there is some money coming into gaming, but nowhere near enough, you do have to have a backup plan. Yeah.
Sure.
How does your family feel about what you do?
My family, my parents, to be specific, they're so very supportive from the word go. But I would say there is a point that reached, they saw as if it's taking more of my time because I was so passionate in learning football, FIFA, So they saw as if it would take more of my time, which I'm supposed to study. And maybe nianguke, walikuwa nafikiria hivyo, of which niliwa prove wrong pia kwa performance yangu shule iko juu. Yeah.
But so you've managed to find a balance.
Yeah.
So that you don't fall back on your studies.
True.
Let me talk about funding. How is this funded? Because these things are not cheap or free. How is it? How expensive is it, especially for students? Who pays for the equipment that you use? I'm interested in that.
Okay, so about the funding, for now, we don't have like a specific group of people who fund our.
But how did you buy your what do you call it?
Console.
Whatever. Yeah. How did you get the first investment?
Okay, to be honest, I don't have mine. So I use for Horizon, I'm in a team known as Horizon Esports team. So I'd say they have everything that we need to game. So I use theirs. Yeah.
How does it's called Horizon?
Horizon.
How do they form a group? Who forms a group? Is it just people who play and you come together and say, let's form a club? How is it structured?
No, it's the manager. It's the manager. Okay, he goes to different tournaments, and when he sees somebody has the potential, the right mentality, not only because a lot of people know how to game, but if you don't have the right mentality or of life generally, positive mentality, you can be so good and have a negative perspective of everything. So he looks at everything.
Guides you, mentors you.
Yeah, so that's how he chooses people. And also we have the right to select people as long as tunawafanyia, let's say, ni kama interview pia sisi. Tuone kama wako na the right mentality, because you can't go on with people who are, as in, wanaweza to backslide kiasi.
You have to be in the same, you have to have the same focus.
Yeah,
you have to have the same goals, similar goals.
Yeah,
goals.
true.
How does your agency then liaise with the clubs? Do you liaise with the clubs or the individual players? How does it work? How do you find people like Shantel?
So first of all, you start by communication, but you need to understand the industry as it is, because esports is competitive video gaming. So in Kenya, there's already a huge video gaming culture. What is not there is now the esports industry, developing this video gaming culture into a competitive industry. Because according to PwC, they value our video games industry at $123 million. That's the Kenyan video game industry.
Oh.
Globally, it's valued at $150 billion. But you see, esports, of that $150 billion globally, esports is valued at only $2 billion. So there are a lot of casual players, but there are few competitive. So to grow an industry, you need to make it more of a mass sport, to go to the people. So in our country, the video game cafes, because of the level of our living standards, so the video gaming cafes are like the basic structure, because you'll walk to if you walk to any urban hood, you'll barely go for a kilometer without meeting a place where people play PlayStation. So they form the foundation. Now you start liaising with those people, because most tournaments started there. You start liaising with those people. Hey guys, I'm having this tournament. But now if you want to move it to become a sport, a proper sport, we can't continue holding them there, because they are usually small spaces. You can't take good photos.
Just to come out of the estates and come sort of mainstream.
And come mainstream in a big hall with audience. So those are the basic structure. We start with that. Make them know there's a tournament. Use social media. But now most teams have been formed starting from there. For example, the manager of their team used to run a video gaming cafe. So he thought of it, now let me go to the next level. Now he formed a team. He can be able now to train that team. So for us, we are trying also to encourage teams, to encourage gamers to go into that direction. So that, because many people who are running
it's easy to approach them when they're in a unit.
In a unit. Because many people who are running video gaming cafes, the challenge is they run into the cyber cafe model. They're not aware that this can be a sport. So sometimes the challenge is some of them won't cooperate, because they're like, I have to pay my tax, I have to pay my staff. So what I want to know is who's coming to play here. I don't want to know who's
how much
going,
are they paying me, and
how much are they paying me.
Yeah.
So it's also a level, a process that we are trying to educate, because some of these video game parlors, they are owned by people who don't know anything about esports, but they know people game,
business.
But it's business, and we can't blame them. So we're trying to also educate them, letting them know that they're the basic structure. You see, she's qualified for an international competition. She does not have her own console. It's like a footballer who does not have playing boots.
Yeah.
So you see, when she's going there, the other 19 countries, you'll meet a 14-year-old, 15-year-old who already have the equipment.
Yes, all those resources.
Yes. So right now we're trying to find that balance, that at least she has a team. They can go somewhere and train. So we're trying to find that balance. Those who don't have somewhere they can train, we connect them with a person who has a video gaming cafe and tell them, at least because you normally open at 10, I can make these guys disciplined to be coming here at 8. Maybe we can have partnership in kind. They can help you clean this place, and then you give them an hour or a half of training personally, when you don't have to think about 30 minutes is equivalent to maybe 100 shillings. You just have to focus. So they are the basic structures, but as we're going to the society, we're trying to look for partners who will enable us to have more spaces where we can break the barriers to access. Where
a lot of innovation. Let me ask, Shantel, you tell me about how you qualified for Commonwealth Games and the reaction of your friends and family.
Okay, so there was a tournament which was held by Lidwick also. I played against different girls, and there wasn't any game which I lost. So that's how.
What do you say?
It's
unbeaten.
Okay, so that's how I qualified, and the reaction of my friends and families were amazing. Actually, they all owe a smile. Yeah, and I'm happy for that.
Because Commonwealth, it's a once in a lifetime to represent your country. I know it's not the mainstream competition, but to be, as Elias was saying, amongst pioneers.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So you're going to be a role model. You're going to have to mentor other young people. What are your hopes and dreams?
Okay, my hopes and dreams are, like right now, I want girls to understand that this e-football field, okay, not e-football, but these e-games are not for men only. They are for both women and men, and also girls can also do it. just as Queen Arrow, Queen Arrow showed me that girls can do it. Through her, I came to understood that girls can also do it. So also want my image to be portrayed and to be seen. Wasichana wanaweza, they can and they can and they can. So, yeah.
Yes, we can. It's such a good attitude, because a lot of sports, a lot of general sports, not even just esports, it's like it's for the men. And then especially family frown upon, my daughter, what is my daughter doing? Anacheza nini? As in playing, not taking it as a sport.
Yeah,
but what would you like to see? How would you like us to see esport in terms of the seriousness?
Okay, I'd like you guys to see it as a career. One can take it as a career, and also one can earn through it. Yeah, so as in wazazi wasichukulie sana wazazi wasichukulie ni kama ni kitu mtu ameenda ku waste time. Yeah, that mentality should be inafaa kutolewa.
And she's got brains in her head, so it's not a default.
Yeah.
That you've landed on esport, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. So na pia wazazi kwanza kwa wasichana juu wanaonanga unaenda kwa hizo containers kucheza na vijana, wewe msichana peke yako. That as in girls should be given that.
I'm going for sport. It's a profession like any other.
It's a professional sport. Like wasikwe na mentality you're going to do bad things. It's just a professional thing that one can earn from it. Yeah.
What's as we wind up, Ronny, what would you like to see happen with esports in Kenya, in terms of recognition, in terms of respect? And you were telling me how you have these tournaments with the likes of Victor Wanyama. I mean, what more would you like to do?
Yeah, we want first and foremost esports to be seen as a social activity that brings people together. Because first thing you mentioned, video games, people say addiction, what have you. But even chess, someone plays chess for hours, seated, same way with an esports player. So we want it to be seen first as a social activity that brings people together. In schools, we want them to be clubs so that they can bring sense of belonging to people who can't play football or people who can't do other activities. So, and secondly, we also want it to be seen now as a mainstream economic activity, like any other sport is. So we want to be able to now tap into ambassadors, people who've played games casually, the likes you've mentioned of Victor Wanyama. We took them they were visiting Omanyala the other day. Although he does not play for an emerging sport, just to see Omanyala post pictures with them post picture.
It's inspiring.
People, and for them to also learn. Because you see, someone like Omanyala has moved short sprint from a trivialized discipline to now something that everyone is trying to run. So there are a lot of lessons to pick from people like him, people like Angela.
Trailblazing.
Yeah, people
Kenya.
like Angela who are making tennis mainstream. So we need a lot of learning and to invite people from other industries, because the sports that are big, they're not just football people. The small challenge we've had is sometimes because the society has pushed gamers away, gamers are also pushing back. So if you come, is this guy a gamer? No, we don't want. But we need to know, like you'll go to football clubs in Europe, someone came from banking to the football club, the other one was working in beverages, came into that industry. So just to open the door for esports for everyone and to connect esports with everyone. Yeah.
And before you go, Elias was telling us his dream is to play for Manchester United esports team. What's yours?
My is to be a brand ambassador of different companies, so that I can inspire girls.
That's fantastic. I think that's amazing. I think we've had a really great introduction to esports today. I wish you guys the best. Commonwealth Games, go and enjoy it. Go and enjoy it. The travel experience, the opening your mind, because you will see there are things you can't learn in a classroom, and there are things you can't learn by never expanding your horizon. So you're going to learn so much. I'm so happy for you guys. Thanks for coming today, Shantel, Wanjiru. Earlier we had Elias Onchari, and of course, let me try not to shrub, Ronny Lusigi, CEO of IndexG Esports. If someone wants to find you on social media, what's your handle?
So our handle is IndexG Esports on LinkedIn, IndexG Esports on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter it's at IndexG_.
You're on all adult platforms.
And TikTok, of course, is our biggest platform.
You have to get Gen
TikTok
Z.
is our biggest platform. Go to TikTok, look at IndexG Sports. You'll see some amazing videos there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up again when
She
you
should
come
tell
back
you
from
her handle also.
from. I'll actually tag you when
Yeah.
when we're showing the photos that we've been taking and everything.
Yeah.
But I'll tag you and make sure that people get to find out who you are as well.
Yeah, thank
You know, and I'm behind you guys. And I'll also be posting a bit more about esports. I rarely do. It's only Queen Arrow who sends me stuff, and I keep posting what she sends.
Okay.
But make it easy for me to also share by sharing with me as well. Ronny has all my contacts. But I wish you guys the best,
Thank
and
you.
I wish you the best at Commonwealth Games and for whatever you have in your future.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys, thanks for watching Radull Live. I hope you learned something new today, and that you're going to give esports the seriousness it deserves and the support it deserves. See you again next week on Radull Live.